Okay, so today we are unpacking one of the most unbelievable true crime stories I have ever heard, a case that's now at the center of a huge Netflix documentary. Seriously, this story has everything: a notorious killer, a celebrity doctor, a faked death in a prison fire, and an escape so bold it has an entire country asking, how on earth did this happen? So the whole thing really explodes because of this one massive contradiction. On one hand, you have the official story from May of 2022. Thabo Bester, a convicted murderer, is dead. He died in his cell, case closed. But then almost a year later, this photo surfaces, and that looks an awful lot like Thabo Bester, just shopping for groceries. So how can a dead man be buying vegetables? To really understand how wild this story gets, we have to go back. We need to talk about the man himself. Who exactly was the inmate in cell 35? Yeah, Thabo Bester wasn't just some random prisoner. He was infamous. They called him the Facebook rapist because he used social media to lure his victims, many of whom were models. Back in 2012, he got a life sentence for murder and a whole string of rape convictions. He was locked up in a privately run maximum security prison. He was supposed to be there forever. So let's jump to the night of May 3rd, 2022. A fire breaks out in Bester's cell. At first, what happens next seems pretty straightforward. The official report comes out, and it's swift, it's clear. Bester took his own life. He set himself on fire, and for the authorities, that was that. Case closed. But, yeah, as investigators and, crucially, journalists started to dig a little deeper, that neat and tidy official stories started to show some serious cracks. The evidence just wasn't lining up at all. And then came the first massive bombshell. A post-mortem report got leaked, and it was stunning. It revealed that the body found in the cell had blunt force trauma to the head. And, maybe even more telling, there was no smoke in the lungs. You know what that means, right? Whoever this person was, they were already dead before the fire even started. And just like that, the investigation went from suicide to a full-blown murder case. This timeline just shows how long it took for the truth to finally claw its way out. For months, authorities kept insisting Bester was dead, even as this incredible investigative outlet called Ground Up kept publishing stories pointing out all the holes. Then, in March 2023, the smoking gun appears, those shopping photos. And just days later, backed into a corner, the government finally had to admit it. Thabo Bester had escaped prison nearly a year earlier. So, that raises the obvious, horrifying question. If the body in that cell wasn't Thabo Bester, who was it? And this is where the story takes its most tragic turn. Through DNA, the victim was eventually identified as Katlego Maholo Mpilo. He was a father, and he'd been reported missing weeks before that fire. To this day, his family is still fighting for answers, just trying to figure out how he died and how his body ended up in a maximum security prison cell, used as a pawn in a killer's escape. And get this, while Katlego's family was desperately searching for him, and while officials were telling the world that Bester was dead, Bester himself was out there living this life of absolute luxury with his accomplice, a celebrity doctor named Dr. Nandipa Magadumana. This part of the story just goes completely off the rails. And hey, if you're finding this breakdown as wild as I am, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps us know what kind of stories you want to see more of. I mean, their audacity was just stunning. They weren't exactly laying low. We're talking about renting a lavish mansion, driving luxury cars, and apparently they went right back to their old tricks, running a fraudulent property scheme under different names. It was like something out of a movie, a classic con artist duo. But, you know, a life like that on the run can't last forever. It all came crashing down in April 2023. After a massive international manhunt, Bester and Dr. Magadumana were arrested in Tanzania and dragged back to South Africa to finally face the music. And that, of course, brings us to the biggest question in all of this. How? How does somebody just walk out of a maximum security, privately run prison? How is that even possible? Well, from what everyone has been able to piece together, it was a shockingly simple three-step plan. First, they smuggled Katlego Bering's body into the prison. Second, they set the fire as a distraction and to destroy evidence. And third, and this is the absolute key, Bester just walked out, almost certainly with a lot of help from people on the inside. So, with the couple back in custody, the story pivots. It goes from this crazy manhunt to a super complex legal battle, all of it playing out under this intense media spotlight, which of course included that Netflix documentary.
And just getting to the trial has been a whole saga in itself. It's just been one delay after another, all these procedural fights. Dr. Mugudumana even tried to have her arrest thrown out, but that failed. And then, right in the middle of all this legal drama, the Netflix series drops, and this case just gets cemented into the public mind, even though they tried to stop it from airing.
So where are they now? Well, Thabo Bester is right back where he started, behind bars, serving out his life sentence, but now with a bunch of new charges for the escape and fraud. And Dr. Mugudumana? She remains a key figure in all of this, with her lawyers continuing to fight every step of the way as everyone just waits for the full trial to finally get started. But here's the thing. Even with Bester and Mugudumana in custody, even with a trial supposedly on the horizon, this case is so far from over. There are huge critical questions that are still just hanging in the air. And these are the big ones, like who physically got Kutligo Bering's body into that cell? Who gave that order? How deep does the corruption in that prison actually go? Was it just a few people, or is the whole system rotten? And maybe the most important question of all, will that poor man's family ever get the full, true story of what happened to him? And that's really why this story matters so much, especially in South Africa. This isn't just some crazy true crime story. It's a scandal that has ripped open these deep, troubling cracks in the country's system of private prisons and the government's ability to actually watch over them. And for all of us watching this from anywhere else in the world, it's a really stark reminder of a simple truth. Deception on this kind of scale, it thrives in the cracks of any system. The little administrative loopholes, the ethical shortcuts, the basic human failures, it just keeps going until somebody finally decides to follow the evidence, no matter how ugly it gets. So, I have to ask you, what is the one detail from this whole insane story that you just can't get out of your head? Is it the escape itself? The decoy body? The fact that they were just out there living it up? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And while you're there, tell us what story you want us to break down next.